Hi, everybody. I am so sorry about what happened with our live here.
Ooh,
Hi
and
there. I'm
hey.
I'm so sorry about that. I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
I'm just putting our comments back below. Sorry about that. I did save the first part of our live, so unfortunately it's going to be in two parts. But you were explaining that you were in Europe, and it was basically to kind of be able to, you weren't traveling very much at the beginning, right? Is what I heard when we were disconnected.
Mhm. Yeah, so during the time that I was working at Disneyland Paris, no, I wasn't really traveling around very much because I wasn't making a lot of money, and I was really just focused on exploring Paris, which is a whole world, just by itself.
Yes.
So I was going to a different museum every time I had a day off, and really exploring. I was actually living kind of outside, far outside the city in the suburbs, close to where Disneyland Paris is.
Yeah.
So it was only on my days off that I could go into the city and explore around. And then when I finally left that job, I just kind of wandered Europe aimlessly for a little while because I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew that I didn't want to go back home. Like Europe, and not just Europe, but exploring the world was just something that I felt called to do. And so I believe that it was shortly after that that I bought a Euro pass for 3 months. So I had a train pass where I could travel all over the continent, and did that for a while, saw lots of amazing places. And then I just kind of fell into random jobs and random opportunities as they presented itself. I worked in a bar, actually here in Portugal on the coast in Lagos in the Algarve. I worked on an organic farm in Italy for a little while. And then I ended up in Rome in Italy and started giving free tours there, which are really popular, common thing in Europe now. Not so much then. It was not really, I hadn't seen it done very much, but I actually, as a tourist, I happened upon one of these free tours in the Roman Forum and followed it, and it was really great. And so then I spoke to the guide afterwards because he was obviously, I can't remember if he was American, but anyway, it was obvious that he was a foreigner and native English speaker. And I said, okay, well, how did you get into this, and how can I do this too? And so I ended up staying and doing that. That's where I met my husband, Nick. He was a tourist on one of my other tour guide fellows' tours, and he also ended up staying and becoming a tour guide himself. So then we became colleagues, and then we became friends, and we really bonded over our mutual love of travel. And yeah, eventually we became more than friends and started traveling together. So for a very long time, we spent more time together traveling than we did, stationary in any given place. So the norm for us was to be on the road all the time. And yeah, we traveled all over the world. We would go back to Rome in the summer because, it was pretty seasonal work, tour guiding. So that was when we could make the most money and save up the most money that would then allow us to go off and travel again during the winter. So we did that for a few years in a row, back and forth between Rome and other places all over the world, India and Indonesia and the Middle East. And then after that, we got into event work. His background is actually in sports journalism. So he's from Sydney in Australia, and he had worked at the Sydney Olympics in the year 2000. And so then he had contacts to work at other Olympics and other major sporting events. So I eventually kind of got into that vicariously through him as well and worked at a few events. We both worked at the Beijing Olympics in 2008. And so that was a really good gig for us because we could be in one place for a few months, maybe 6 months, sometimes longer, sometimes more like a year and a half. And then again, save up money so that we could then go traveling for a long time after that. So yeah, we were kind of off and on nomads, semi-nomads for a really long time. We did spend those 6 years in Geneva, but I don't know if that might have gotten cut off. I was talking to myself for a while when our video got cut off.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, so I did get offered a job as a translator in Geneva, and so we took that job and stayed there for 6 years. At the time, we thought that we were ready to, you know, kind of settle down and have a quote-unquote normal life. But about 3 years into it, we realized, nope, this is just not our normal. Like, this is never going to be the life that we want.
Yeah.
So at that time, even though, like you were saying before about how Paris is a really great central point from which to explore the rest of Europe, that's what Geneva was for us. And we did do that a lot. So, you know, whether it was by train or also by flights, because the airport is really close to the city center, and so it was really easy to get there, you know, even to go away just for a weekend. And we also explored a lot around Switzerland as well, and around France, which was very close by. So yeah, we did that, and you know, I had 6 weeks of vacation, paid vacation every year, and we had national holidays and things like that as well, but it still wasn't enough. Like, we still felt like we needed more freedom to be able to explore. And so we saved up for a while. We spent, even, like I said, it was about 3 years into living in Geneva that we kind of came to this decision that actually we want to get back out there on the road. And then it was another 3 years before we could get ourselves into a financial position where we felt comfortable enough to be able to take that leap. And that's when we moved here to Lisbon and set up a base here. So we were able to buy this apartment, and now we are still what I call semi-nomadic, because we typically stay here in Lisbon for about 6 months out of the year, and then we travel the other half of the year. Obviously, 2020 is a completely different thing, but normally that's how it works, and it's working out really great for us.
Well, you guys definitely chose a beautiful city. I've been lucky to visit Lisbon 3 times, and you've definitely chosen a beautiful location.
Yeah, thank you. I agree. I really love this city, and if I have to be, you know, stuck somewhere for all of 2020 and for at least part of 2021, I'm really happy to be stuck here. I'm really, really grateful.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place.
Yeah, so that leads us to your tips that you can suggest for people who are vegan travelers. What are 2 or 3 of your top tips to travel the world successfully as a vegan?
Yeah, great question. So I will start out by saying, if you're a new vegan, or if you're, you know, just thinking about going vegan and you're kind of worried about how, you know, staying vegan while traveling is going to work, don't worry, it's a lot easier than you think it is. It's definitely a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. And that was 6 years ago, and it's just gotten so much easier since then, because the movement is just growing exponentially in most parts of the world. And even in the parts of the world, let's say some African countries where there's not a visible vegan movement, there's still a very plant-based cuisine that is the local cuisine. So people might not know the word vegan, but they will have vegan food. They will have plant-based food, because it's everywhere, you know, fresh vegetables and grains and legumes and nuts and fruits. You can find those anywhere. So you really can be vegan anywhere. Don't worry about that. It is a good idea to do some research beforehand, and to, you know, prepare yourself so you know what you're getting into, because each destination is different in terms of their understanding of veganism, and in terms of what ingredients they cook with, what dishes they have in their local cuisine that might already be vegan or might be very easily adjusted to be vegan if you can, you know, ask for the cheese to be left off or something like that. But it really pays to do a little bit of research beforehand and find those things out, so that you are better prepared before you head off. So one of the first things that I do is to check HappyGal. Yeah. I'm sure that are you a fan of HappyGal as well, Angel?
I am, and I've actually created an account a couple years, like maybe a year and a half or so ago. So I populated, I've given reviews for, gosh, I want to say 20 or more restaurants.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So just quickly, for anyone who doesn't know what HappyGal is, it's a worldwide crowdsourced directory of vegan and vegan-friendly restaurants all over the world. And actually, it's expanded to a lot more than just restaurants now. You can also find listings for vegan-friendly accommodation, like B&Bs, markets, and ice cream parlors, and there's all kinds of different, different listings. But yeah, the restaurants, I guess, is the main thing that they're known for. And I definitely recommend downloading the app onto your phone before you go. I believe, well, there is a free version of the app with ads for Android. And then if you have an iPhone, it costs like $4 or $5 to download it. It's the best $4 or $5 you'll ever spend. Because, yeah, it's just so handy to, at the click of a button, no matter where you are, even if you're totally lost and have no idea where you are, you've just landed in a strange city, you can just click show everything nearby, and then you'll know exactly what the options are around you within a 1 kilometer radius or whatever it is that you set. And you can see if they're open now and, all kinds of extra info too. So that is super helpful. But if you don't see anything on HappyGal for your destination, don't freak out about that either, because that doesn't mean that there's no vegan food there. Absolutely not. It could just be that it's not a very popular destination. Like I said, it is crowdsourced. Like Angel, you said that you have added reviews and listings there for restaurants that perhaps weren't listed previously. So if you're going to Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso, there probably aren't that many vegan travelers that have gone there before you and have made those listings. So it's going to be up to you. If you would like to make that contribution to the community and share the places that you find when you're there, then that would be a really cool thing to do. But it does mean that, it's going to be up to you to find those places yourself. So it might just be, like I said, that you're going kind of off the beaten track. Or, it's true that some destinations are more vegan friendly than others. Some cuisines are definitely more vegan friendly than others, but you don't have to rely only on vegan restaurants or vegetarian restaurants. There are lots of options there, and even if the particular local cuisine in the place where you're traveling is not particularly vegan friendly, you can also seek out restaurants that serve different cuisines that are more vegan friendly and that you can find all over the world. For example, Chinese food. I mean, where can you not find a Chinese restaurant? And there you can go and be guaranteed to get lots of fresh vegetables. They'll probably have tofu as well, and rice and noodle dishes. And so that's a really easy kind of fallback option. Italian is another one. You can always get pasta and focaccia. You can always order a pizza without cheese. That's not even a weird thing in Italy. Pizza does not necessarily have to come with cheese. The very first pizza, the original pizza that was invented in Napoli in the 18th century is the pizza marinara, which is totally vegan. It doesn't have any cheese on it. So yeah, I would first say check your HappyGal and then do some research about the local cuisine to find out what are the dishes that you might be able to order if you go into just any restaurant, so that you're not limited just to the restaurants that are listed on HappyGal. If you know a few local dishes that you'll be able to find pretty much anywhere in the local mainstream restaurants, then that really opens up your options, and that can be really convenient, especially if you're traveling with non-vegans who don't necessarily want to go exploring these off the beaten track neighborhoods with you in order to find a vegan restaurant. Then yeah, if you know some local dishes, or the third option is also to seek out other cuisines besides the local ones, like Chinese cuisine, Italian, Thai, Moroccan. There are quite a few. Honestly, most of the most popular ethnic cuisines out there are pretty vegan friendly. They do have quite a few dishes for vegans to choose from. I actually wrote about this in my book, which is called Veggie Planet. uncover the vegan treasures hiding in your favorite world cuisines. So in that book, I write about 11 different cuisines that are some of the most popular all over the world, and show you what those dishes are that are already vegan, and you know, what kind of things you can look out for, and also which ingredients you want to avoid, because there are, you know, some hidden animal-based ingredients too. Like if you're in Thailand, you need to watch out for shrimp paste and things like that. So yeah, you could either do that research yourself, or you could also check out the book, and I've done it all there for you already.
So we're going to skip to your books, and then we'll go back to your blog. And those were awesome tips, by the way. Those were awesome tips, by the way. So where can people get your book?
Yeah, it's on Amazon. That's probably the easiest thing. If you just search on Amazon for Veggie Planet, it will come up. It's available both as a paperback and as an ebook. Oh, and I should also mention, I do have another ebook as well that's totally free, which is all about easy steps for easy vegan travel. So I've given you some of my top tips here, but I give even more tips in that book. So if you just go to my website, my blog, which is thenomadicvegan.com, then right on the front page, you'll see a big picture of a book, which is called 9 Steps for Easy Vegan Travel, and you can download that totally for free.
That's awesome. Now, before we go to your blog, do you have any other books?
You know, it's funny. I had lots of ideas for books, and I do have one that is basically written already that's all about Italian food specifically. Italy is a place that's very special to my heart. As I mentioned, I was living there off and on for a few years, and it's where my husband and I met, and we also went back and got married there a few years later. And I absolutely adore Italian food, and it's so misunderstood. Like, people think that everything is smothered in cheese, and they don't think that there will be that many options, but it's not true. Authentic Italian cuisine that you find in Italy is very different often from the Italian cuisine that might be served in your local Italian restaurant, because the way that it's been exported to the States and to other countries around the world is quite different from the authentic cuisine. So anyway, I did write a whole book about that, but I think I've actually decided not to publish it as a book, but to publish it for free on the blog as well. So I'm in the process of doing that. I've already published 3 articles that were originally chapters in the book. So the most recent one is all about Sicily, and then you'll also find some on there, one about Tuscany and one about Puglia. And I'd say that those 3 are 3 of the most vegan-friendly regions in Italy, because each region, there are 20 different regions in Italy, and each one has its own local cuisine, and they vary tremendously. So some parts of Italy are a lot more vegan friendly than others, and you can try different dishes in each one. So yeah, I'm in the process now of putting that book out there, but just in a different format as blog posts for everyone to read.
So that takes us back to your blog. So tell us a bit. So tell us a bit about your blog, please. You know, like, I guess, you know, what your focus areas are. Okay,
great. Yeah, so I started thenomadicvegan.com basically right after I got home from that trip to Greece back in 2014. If you were watching the first part of the video, I explained how I went vegan. Well, I gave kind of a trial run of vegan travel on a free trip to Greece, and then never looked back from that point, and was totally amazed to see how many vegan options there were in the local cuisine and how easy it was to be vegan. And so I came home and I was vegan, and I was also really passionate about this movement and really wanted to contribute something more than just changing my own diet. So this I saw as a really obvious niche that I could fill, because I knew there were probably lots of people out there who had the same fears and misconceptions that I had had about vegan travel and how easy or how hard it is. So that was when I started The Nomadic Vegan, yeah, straight away after getting home from that trip. And so I have lots of early posts that are really embarrassing posts because I had no idea what I was doing. I did not know how to blog. But you can find lots of old cringy stuff about Greece on there, and about Spain as well. And then I've been going, the blog has been going for more than 6 years now. So it started out mostly about Europe, but I've also covered lots of other destinations throughout Asia and throughout Africa. And yeah, so you'll find city guides sometimes where I recommend some of the best restaurants, whether those are vegan restaurants or vegetarian or veg-friendly restaurants. Or I've also done country guides where I explain basically about the local cuisine and not necessarily specific restaurants to go to, but more about which dishes to try when you're in the country, and maybe language tips and things like that. I'm actually on a huge language learning kick right now. This is another big passion of mine. And I kind of put it aside when I started the blog because the blog became, you know, my big focus and took up a lot of time. So I didn't have as much time for learning foreign languages. But now that we're stuck at home, you know, during the pandemic, it's opened up more time for me to do both of those things. So I'm really excited about learning languages right now. And I think I'm going to add more foreign language content on, I mean, I don't mean writing in other languages, but I mean helping people navigate vegan travel in other languages and sharing helpful words and phrases and things for people to use when they're traveling in a place where they don't speak it.
Yeah, that's super helpful because, you know, there are cultural differences, you know, between countries. So I think that's a great element that you're adding, you know, to help people kind of navigate a little bit.
Yeah, I hope it'll be helpful. I think it should be.
Totally, totally. So I'm not quite sure who's on the line here, but if you have any questions for Wendy, just put them down in the comments below. And thanks for joining. And meanwhile, we will go to our next question, our next topic, which is tell us a bit about your tours. And I know we're in a pandemic, so maybe, you know, not right this very moment, but if you could just give us an overview of your tours, please.
Yeah, so I work in collaboration with a couple of different vegan companies, one of which is Veg Johnson Journeys. So you can find them here on Instagram as well if you want to check them out. They offer tours mostly in Europe, also some locations in North America, and even one in Asia. We've got one trip in Singapore coming up, scheduled for 2021. The tours that I am going to be leading in 2021, fingers crossed. Obviously, you know, this is all dependent on the current situation and how that progresses and how the vaccine availability progresses and things like that. But we have scheduled some tours for the second half of 2021. So starting in, I think, July, I have the first vegan tour of Portugal, which is where I live now. So obviously I know it very well, and I'm really excited to share some of my favorite restaurants with people and some of my favorite veganized Portuguese dishes. It's unfortunately not a very vegan-friendly cuisine in terms of traditional Portuguese cuisine, but here in Lisbon anyway, and also in Porto, there are some amazing restaurants that have veganized some of the local specialties. So we'll have a chance to check those out. Yeah, so I'll be running that tour twice in 2021. Also a tour to Italy, which is kind of the classic Italy tour. If you've never been to Italy before, then we will hit all of the must-do stops, which includes, of course, Rome and Florence and Venice and some other more hidden places in Tuscany as well. I've already waxed lyrical about Italian food, so I won't spend any more time on that, but trust me, we will eat very, very well in Italy. Yeah. And then another one that I'm going to be leading, which is new for me this year, is one to Prague and Budapest. So
those two cities really, well, I decided to, well, I wouldn't say I decided, I guess it was decided for me that I would ditch my pescatarian, vegetarian / plant-based diet when I was in Budapest. That was the first place that I realized that there were actual restaurants called vegan restaurants. And then last year I was lucky enough to go to Prague, and I was blown away by the number of vegan restaurants there, besides the architecture and how beautiful the city is. But I was just so happy, honestly, that there were so many vegan restaurants in Prague. So those are two beautiful destinations that you've chosen, and I say hats off to you because they're going to be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm looking forward to exploring that further myself as well, along with the rest of the tour participants. I have been to both of the cities before, and I've been to Prague fairly recently, but you know, the vegan scene changes so quickly and new places are opening up all the time. So this is a new tour for me, and I'm really looking forward to exploring that with our participants. And then, so the final tour that I'm going to be doing is with a different company. It's called Escape 2 is the name of the company, and that's also a vegan travel company that focuses mostly on India and the Indian subcontinent. So in November, I'm going to be leading a vegan tour of Sri Lanka, which is something that I'm really excited about. It's also a place that I've been to before, but not, it was quite a while ago, so I'm really looking forward to rediscovering it as well, and we will have local guides there who know the place extremely well, so I'll be guiding in collaboration with them, and we're going to have lots of cool activities to, you know, really dig deep into and get immersed into the local culture, and you know, meet locals and meet local vegan entrepreneurs and activists, and find out more about what they're doing, and local chefs as well. So yeah, that one's going to be really great.
Yeah, no, I totally recommend, you know, I can only speak for the European part. You know, I think you've just chosen amazing destinations. And I know Sri Lanka is also, you know, a beautiful destination as well. So totally. I just want to say hi to everyone who's on the line, on and off, in and out. And if you have questions or comments for Wendy, just pop them down in the comment section below and she'll be happy to answer. And meanwhile, we can go to our next topic, which is, how do you handle naysayers, critics, skeptics of our vegan diet and lifestyle?
I just ignore them.
That's a good one.
I don't know. I don't get into arguments online. I find that that is not productive at all, and it just really sucks out all of my energy and puts me in a really bad mood, gets me very upset, and I don't think it really achieves much of anything. If anything, it might just get that person further entrenched into their beliefs and, you know, make them put their guard up and not want to listen. So, yeah, I avoid those conversations, you know, those arguments online especially, I'm talking about.
Right.
And then in person, honestly, I don't know if I've just been fortunate, but it's been very rare that I've come into contact with someone face-to-face in person who has been antagonistic about the vegan lifestyle. Has that happened to you very much, Angel?
Not often, but I recently had a situation. I was at a vegan restaurant, actually. I'll just summarize. The guy, was looking for a burger, and I was, you know, because of all this social distancing, I was just finishing my meal on the patio, and he, you know, bottom line, he asked me if it was this vegetarian place, and I said it's vegan, and then he's like, oh, I don't know, I think I'll just go get a burger. And I said, oh, they have burgers here. And he's like, well, you mean like the regular burgers? And I was like, no, they're vegan. And he's like, oh no, I think I'll just go get a burger. And I said, no, but they're really good. You might like them. Try it. You know, just try it and see if you like it. And he's like, no, I'm just gonna go get a burger. But he said, but have a nice day. And I'm like, okay, you too, thank you. So, you know, I can't say like I've had, you know, I have had people say, oh no, I don't really think I can do it, or things like that, you know. But like nothing super harsh so far.
Yeah, no, there is one incident that sticks out in my mind from my very early vegan days. So again, this was, perhaps even late 2014, or if not early 2015. And it was in the UK. And I was traveling with my husband's family in the Cotswolds, and we had been walking all day. It was like a, you know, hiking, walking holiday, and we ended up in this tiny village that had just one pub that was serving food. So that was the only option, and it was really late. It was like 3 o'clock, and we hadn't eaten lunch yet. So, yeah, I mean, we had to eat lunch here. And the guy working there was, just really antagonistic, I have to say. I asked, because they actually had little bees marked next to some of the dishes, which meant vegetarian.
Yeah, that's the thing.
So I asked about that. I said, so I guess those V's mean vegetarian? He's like, oh, I don't know. And I said, okay, well, do you know if you have any vegan dishes? And yeah, I'm guessing because he had a dog there, and I think maybe because he identified as an animal lover, and so the fact that I was vegan kind of, you know, made him uncomfortable with his own conscience and the fact that he was eating animals when he also at the same time loved animals, which is something that I did too for many years. But yeah, he was just saying, oh, well, you know, I can give you a carrot. Like, he just really did not want to serve me anything. And in the end, I got some vegetables and some rice, and it was plain, but it was totally fine. But yeah, the way that, and then he asked me, you know, if my shoes were made out of leather, and like he just wanted to catch me somehow and, you know, show that I was a hypocrite, or, you know, because I felt like, I think he probably felt like I thought I was better than him because I was vegan. Again, it was just his conscience. It was all in his head. And that is the case basically every time you have one of these conversations. Honestly, I think it's not about you. It's really about what's going on in that person's head. So try not to take it personally. And yeah, I would just, also try not to get antagonistic towards them and to just be a positive example and show, you know, that you can live a happy and fulfilled life as a vegan. We have a comment from Vegan in Every Country. Oh, hey! Saying that it's getting better in the UK as veganism is more mainstream now. Yeah, totally. Yeah, things have come a long way in the UK in the past 5 years since I had that interaction with him. And actually not that long ago, I looked up that pub online to see, and they do have marked vegan options on their menu now.
That's awesome. So, you know what? You might have played a big role in that.
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, it's possible. I mean, it didn't seem like the guy was taking it to heart at the time, but maybe, you know, word got to someone else within the restaurant and they made decisions. Or maybe I was just one of many people who was asking for vegan options, and so then eventually they listened to that demand.
Yeah, and I think it is about planting seeds in terms of, like, you know, just kind of dropping some hints here and there, some little tidbits and information here and there, and then you never know if they might take it and run with it.
Yeah. You probably have a much bigger impact than you realize, because you are planting seeds, you know, even when you don't realize it. Just the fact that you're in a restaurant ordering vegan food, people are seeing that, whether it's the people at the table that you're eating with or, you know, people elsewhere. They take notice, and that does plant seeds, and, you know, you could have a huge impact down the line that you probably never will know that person went vegan and that you've had something to do with it.
Yeah, and I'll just add, I had an experience where the server thought that vegan food was the same as vegetarian food. So she kept saying, oh, but will we have eggs? I'm like, no, I don't eat eggs. Oh, well, what about cheese? No, I don't eat cheese. I don't eat anything that comes from animals. And she was like, oh, okay, well, wait. Okay, I'll be back. Well, my dear, she brought me these nachos with, you know, like a salsa going on, and like little peppers, and I think some olives and all kinds of plants, you know. And I was like, whoa, she really showed up here. But it was almost like, you know, like she just needed someone to explain it to her. And it happened, I think, in another restaurant as well. Some people just are very confused as to what veganism is versus vegetarianism. And I remember one person, she actually, a very young server, you know, she basically asked me to please just explain it to her because she really just wasn't clear on it.
Mm-hmm. And that's awesome that you were there and were able to do that.
Yeah, we have another comment from Vegan in Every Country. Hi there, who says, we are all ministers of propaganda for the vegan movement. Yes.
Yes.
I agree. All right. So let's go to our next topic, which is newbies, vegan curious, vegan friendly people who show up and they're like, I want to try this vegan thing. I'm not quite sure where to start. Do you have any tips for me, please?
Yeah, I would say, you know, go at your own pace or go at something that feels just like slightly faster than your own pace. Like, I'm not really an advocate for, you know, stopping everything all at once and throwing all of the animal products out of your refrigerator. First of all, that's not going to help any of the animals. And it's, you know, much less likely to be successful in the long run because there is a learning curve in the beginning. Like, now it's just second nature to me. It's just the way that I live, and I would never even consider animal products as food. So it's not difficult at all. But in the beginning, you do have to relearn things. You have to relearn how to cook. For me, in my case, I had to learn how to cook from the very beginning because I'd never cooked before. You know, and you're trying different ingredients, and you're figuring out what works. You're discovering new restaurants. You're discovering perhaps different cuisines that you've never tasted before either. And there's other aspects too, of course. You know, it's not just about food. It's about avoiding, for example, products that have been tested on animals, whether they're personal hygiene products or cosmetics or cleaning supplies and things like that. So, you know, there's a lot to overhaul in your life when you're making this transition. And so I think it should be a gradual transition, and you shouldn't be too hard on yourself. You know, like I said, I started with vegan before 6. Is that coming from your end?
Yeah, I live in a really busy area, so sorry about that. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, I think it's gone now.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I started out doing vegan before 6, and I was doing that for a few months. So I would eat vegan for breakfast and lunch, and then eat whatever for dinner. And sometimes that was vegan, and sometimes it wasn't. And then I gradually started cutting out more and more animal products. But I would say, instead of thinking about it as cutting things out, think about it as adding things in. You know, try a different recipe each week. You know, make a different meal that you've never made before. Cook with a different ingredient. If you've never cooked with tofu or tempeh or seitan, try those. And also connect with the vegan community. It's really, really important to have a community, whether that's your local community, people who you can see physically, or, you know, since we're not really seeing people physically these days, online communities have become even more important, and they already were extremely important, especially for people who live in, you know, more isolated areas or areas where there just isn't a vegan movement. But those people are out there, and it's really easy to connect with them online. You know, you can do it right there on Instagram. Facebook groups can be really good as well. Yeah, do you have any other places like go-to places where you look for a vegan community, Angel?
I mainly stay with Instagram. However, so public service announcement, I'm single, and so I am a part of some Facebook singles groups, of which there are many. And so, yes, so there's also some community in those groups. And then I'm also a part of like regional groups. So again, you know, folks, let's say wherever you live, you can also find vegan groups, regionally, locally, for example. So those are a couple others I would recommend.
Yeah, no, that sounds great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you're single, I mean, I've been married like long before smartphones were a thing, so I've never been on the apps or anything. But you know, you could also put the fact that you are vegan in your profile if you're on dating apps, and you know, you can look for other vegans there as well.
Yes, I've tried that. I've actually made a little video about that. Not very successful. So
okay, well, good. You're the one who can speak from experience on that. So
yeah, but you know, as they say, keep hope alive, right?
Totally.
So I just want to pause and say thanks for everyone who's joining. And if you have questions or comments for Wendy, just pop them down below in the comment section, and she'll be happy to answer. And meanwhile, we will continue. So I know you mentioned, you know, 1 or 2 items that you have coming up in the future, like you're adding to your blog based on your original idea of your book. Are there any other future projects that you are ready to unveil or comment on right now?
Yeah, actually, it's half my project and half my husband Nick's project. and it's a new blog and podcast, which is all about the Camino de Santiago. Are you familiar with the Camino, Angel? You spent a lot of time in Spain, so I'm guessing you've heard more of it.
I've heard of it, and it's on my wish list to do because I feel like it will be very life-changing.
Yes, it very often is for people, and it has been for us. So I'll just briefly explain. The Camino is a medieval pilgrimage route that led to a town in the far northwest corner of Spain, Galicia, called Santiago de Compostela, and that is where the remains, the relics of St. James are said to be kept. James, his name is Santiago in Spanish, so that's why it's called Santiago. And so people would walk from places all over Europe. I mean, basically they would just start walking from outside their front door, wherever they happen to be. So there are actually many, many different Caminos de Santiago. You could start from the Netherlands or from France or Belgium or Portugal as well. You have Caminos from here, and then they would all converge and end up in Santiago. And then the idea kind of got revived in the past, say, 10 or 20 years. And now there's one route in particular that has become really popular with people. And so usually when people say they're walking the Camino, they mean that they're walking the one known as the Camino Frances, or the French way, which comes from France. So a popular starting point is a little village in the Pyrenees Mountains called Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port that's just across the border in France. And then on the first day of your walk, you would walk across that border and then walk all the way across the north of Spain to Santiago. And that's about 800 kilometers, or about 500 miles. So that is the one that my husband and I did first in 2017. And then, yeah, we completely fell in love with the Camino and the whole experience, because it's much more than a hike. It really is a pilgrimage. And even if you're not doing it for religious reasons, I'm not Catholic, for example, and yeah, I wouldn't say that I'm a religious person, but it definitely had a spiritual aspect for me. And the people that we met along the way that made it really special. And that was really one of the most important aspects of walking the Camino for me. And it's just a different way to travel and to experience the country and to experience parts of that country that you never would see otherwise. If you were just traveling by car or by train or by bus, we went through really remote little villages that don't otherwise get tourists. And so it was interesting to see the local traditional life and in the history of the Camino, because people have been passing through this way for hundreds of years. So you have ruins of old hospitals where they used to take care of sick pilgrims, for example. So there are lots of historic sites that are related to the Camino itself that you pass by. So it's just a really cool thing to be a part of. And we have now made kind of a pact between the two of us that we're going to walk a different Camino every year. And so far we've been able to do that, even in 2020. So we walked our fourth Camino this year. We walked the Camino Português, the Portuguese way, starting from Lisbon. I mentioned that we live here in Lisbon. This is our home base. So we actually got to do it the medieval way and start by walking out of our front door, which meant that we didn't have to take any public transport or anything. And, it was, in some ways, it felt much safer than other forms of travel at this time, because we were out in rural, depopulated areas for a lot of the time. And, also we still had to take precautions, and you might not decide that it's something that you're comfortable with. I don't recommend it right now, because this was in October when we did it, and the situation as far as COVID-19 in Spain and Portugal has gotten much worse then. So it's not really possible to walk it right this moment, but hopefully in spring of next year, it'll be back on the cards again. And it's not that you can do it vicariously by going to our new blog and listening to our new podcast. The blog is at spiritofthecamino.com. And then the podcast is also called spiritofthecamino.com. So you can just look for that on Stitcher or any of whatever podcatcher you use. You'll find us on there. And we've got just a few episodes so far. This first season is going to be all about the Camino Português, the Portuguese Camino, which is the one that we did most recently. And then we do have plans for spring of next year to hopefully do a much longer Camino. It's going to be a really big one, which we're hoping that we'll be able to do. And then we'll do the second podcast season will be about that Camino as well.
That is awesome. So tell everybody, please, what's the best way or the best ways to contact you if they want to collaborate, get more information, etc.
Sure. Well, you're on Instagram, so you can just send me a DM here. I respond to all of those. Also, my website is thenomadicvegan.com. That is my main little house, my home on the internet. So you can send me a contact message through the contact form on there. I'm also on the other social media platforms. I'm on Facebook and Twitter. Twitter's not really my thing, but I am on there. And Pinterest. And yeah, you can find me anywhere. But yeah, since you're on here, it's probably easiest to just send me a message here on Instagram.
Super. So again, I want to thank you so much, Wendy, for taking the time, to come on and share your journey with us and all of your interesting projects. I want to thank everybody who joined either live or on the replay. And I'm just going to ask Wendy to just kind of wrap this up for us with any final thoughts, any final, anything she wants to say to just kind of wrap it up and put a bow on it for us, please.
All right. Well, I've said it before, but I think it's worth repeating that, traveling as a vegan is much easier than people tend to think that it is, and it's getting easier all the time. So you really can be vegan anywhere and spread compassion everywhere. And a lot of it also comes down to your own mentality, and the attitude that you have going into the whole experience. If you expect to not find anything and to, get really annoyed that people don't understand what veganism is, then that's the experience that you're going to have. But if you go into it, with a more positive attitude and treating it like a treasure hunt and trying to find those hidden vegan treasures, then you'll find them because they're out there.
Totally. I'm so glad that you ended on that high note, really encouraging and inspiring people, because, it can be daunting, especially when you're first starting off on your vegan journey. So I appreciate you ending on that high note. And I want to thank you again. I'm going to save the live to IG TV, my feed and stories, and then I'll message you afterwards.
Awesome.
And I just want to say thank you so much again, Wendy, and take good care. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.